In between sets with Olly Draisey. Welcome, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm not bad. Not bad. How about you?
I'm very well, thank you. And just before we clicked record, you mentioned that In Between Sets was a good name because you and I literally met in between sets at EP, and that story, just to give some context, I remember seeing you for the first time, walking in and thinking, this geezer who I'd not seen before is about to take his top off and do some posing, which I always thought was a bit. Um, you're very confident of people to do so in an open gym. At that stage, there wasn't the posing room, and I thought, okay, this guy's about to do some posing. That's pretty cool. And then I was like, oh wow, this guy's bloody lean. So that was like the first prep you did with Jack Trainer. I remember.
Yeah, that was literally probably at my lightest point at 70 kilos. I've got to be your lightest guest that you've ever had on this, by the way. 70 kilos I was at that point last year, and I was absolutely diced. And I think it was literally one of my check-ins before I got on stage the Saturday after that. So I had to do one final check-in with the same lighting. Literally just walk into the gym, do that, walk back out. But yeah,
So
it must have been
yours.
70 kilos. That was my prep last year.
So I work in, my brain works in pounds when it comes to body weight. So that's 154
Oh,
pounds. So I'm, yeah, wow, and you're, how tall are you? 6 foot, 6'1"?
depends who's asking. If it's my girlfriend, then it's definitely over the 6 foot mark. But I think officially I'm about 5'11",
Yeah,
five
but
eleven and a bit.
you're not short, are you? Is what I'm trying to say. So 154
No,
pound at 5'11", 5'11 and a half, 6 foot is um, light. But you were very very lean. Not to take anything away from you, but it does looks can be deceiving when it comes to weight. I always find, and that always it's interesting to see someone like yourself who steps on stage at 154 pound, and then you think, well, I look at my weight going down during a cut, say, and I think, have I got more to lose here? And actually, when you think, right, Ollie was 154, yeah, I've got more to lose here, or whatever.
yeah,
And that is always a deceptively light on stage, aren't they? And when they're cutting. Um,
yeah. I don't think there's any need to explain or claim the fact that I am natty. I think that's can be deduced from the fact that I stepped on
wait,
stage at 70 kilos.
what? And
But
did you
that
enjoy it? Would you do it again?
Yeah, I've got it lined back up again. I'm not gonna compete in 2025, which I was originally gonna do, but I'm gonna push it until 2026 because I realised this shows my maturity in bodybuilding. I thought that you're a junior up until the point you turn 23, but it's actually up until the point you turn 24. So I'm currently only 21, so I can have a whole extra year of growing if I could decide to compete in 2026. I was planning on 2025 as my last season as a junior bodybuilder, but I've got a whole nother year of growing that I can do. So I'm going to maximize my growth, do the longest bulking phase I possibly can for the next 2 years to put myself in the best spot that I can to like come in right at the end of my junior phase and see what I can do as my last season as a junior in 2026.
Nice. Okay. And so
And
your body weight on stage is 154. What was your body weight this morning, for example? 18 months on.
yeah, so I've recently just done a mini cut actually. I did a whole year of gaining after I stepped off stage last year. So I was 70 kilos when I stepped off stage last year. I gained the whole way up to around 87.
Yeah.
And then I've just done a mini cut now, and my lowest weigh in was 78. So a whole year of gaining up to 87 kilos. I can't do that in pounds. 180-ish, 190-ish, something like that. And then I've mini cut back down now, and I'm currently around 78 kilos. And it's obvious that I've been able to put on a lot of muscle in that gaining phase. So the heaviest I've ever been is 95 kilos as well. So the plan now is just to slowly trickle my way right back up to that uncomfortable spot where I'm walking around, getting out of breath, walking up the stairs because I'm like properly not overweight, but at the biggest point that I've been. So that's the game plan now. Really nice and slow, and then a prep cut in 2026. So no more mini cuts until then, probably.
And what rate of gain are you aiming for?
My body weight, as if anyone like watching this follows me on Instagram, they'll know that I am a proclaimed very, very skinny guy. So I have to eat a shit ton of food to put on even like the smallest amount of weight. So I'm eating in the range of like 3.5, 4,000, sometimes even 4,500 in a gaining phase. And it means that my body weight fluctuates around quite a lot. If I miss one meal in an evening or something like that, my body weight will just drop by a kilo. On average, I'm aiming for around 1% per month. So really, really, really quite slow. But the way that my body weight gains is some weeks I'll eat more and more and more and more, and my body weight will just carry on staying exactly the same, drop a little bit, and then it'll have a big week where it goes up. So on average, around 0.25% per week.
Per week, right?
Really slow, really slow.
Did you ever? Does the name Phil Lerney ring a bell to you? Do you remember watching any of his content? He might have been before your time, because he was a
Phil,
Phil Lerney. He was a coach and personal trainer from Ultimate Performance or UP, and he used to do. He was like the OG of fitness content in the UK. He used to do podcasts, and they weren't even really podcasts. It was just him sitting at home raving to a microphone, and I used to listen to
yeah,
them on
the
the way
best time.
to. Yeah, yeah, they were great. I used to listen to them on the way to whilst I was walking to university. So this would have been 2012, 2013. But he used to talk about concepts. He used to charge, I remember it's just a side tangent, he was a personal trainer. He used to charge £250 an hour for personal training. And he used to do, it was something like 10 hours a week or 15 hours a week. But his clientele were all investment bankers in London who with disposable cash, and he got himself up to the ceiling in the industry. I think that's right. I'm saying
Yeah,
someone will probably DM me and say I'm talking shit. But, he used to talk about a lot of concepts, and one of them was the idea of being a hard gainer. And he said often people who think of themselves as hard gainers are not hard gainers; they're just easy losers. And I never really understood that. But then you can, as of obviously started to understand it more, and with myself, similarly to you, if I don't stay on top of my food, I will quite easily lose a couple of pound, or if I do too many steps that day, I'll lose a couple of pound overnight or something like that. And actually, it's you're trying to both get the weight on in terms of keeping the intake up, but also minimise loss by staying on top of your your steps and things like that, so that you've got this balance and progress is moving in the right direction. And you yeah, so that was a concept I remember listening to and not understanding at the time. But then as you start to actively try and gain weight, you think actually this is not as straightforward as
not as
just
easy.
shoveling in
Yeah,
food. And that's something you talk about
yeah,
quite a lot in your content, is the idea of just shoveling in more food. You hit a brick wall in terms of digestion. And I don't know
yeah.
if you want to talk about that a little bit, is that in that what you see as trends across your clients with that.
Yeah, I mean that's who I coach now. I coach the guys that are naturally skinny, that they hear it from everybody. Oh, you just need to eat more food. You just need to eat more. That's all you need to do, and you'll start gaining weight. And they're like, trust me, I've tried that. Trust me, I've been banging my head against the wall, piling down as much food as I possibly can. And what happens at that point is they either randomly get sick and lose a load of weight in a week because they're spewing it down the toilet, or they tank their appetite. So they have so many days of filling themselves up too much that they just reach one day and their appetite is dead for the whole day, and they just go the whole day without eating because they forget to, and they lose weight again. Or yeah, or they get to this point where they're constantly in this cycle of falling behind with their calories. So they wake up, they feel nauseous because they're still full from yesterday, skip breakfast, kind of have a smallish lunch, that's their first meal, and then they get to evening time. Oh my god, I've got 3,000 calories left to get in at 9 p.m. Absolute nightmare. This is literally the problem that I solve. That is who I help. That is my whole ethos, because that's the journey that I went through for 2 years. I was trying to do this, stuff myself full of food, going to bed with a belly like so full that I couldn't get to sleep because it was like you can't lie on it. There's no comfortable side to lie on. I was still digesting. It ruined my sleep. I'd wake up late. I'd miss my calories the next day. I couldn't gain weight. For 2 years, I was trying to eat as much as I could, and I just could not gain weight. So the model, I won't run through it in detail, but the model that I use with my clients is I get them to imagine that they carry a bucket around with them all day, and it's like a plastic fishing bucket. Imagine one about this big, and I say, you can only eat what you can fit in that bucket. That's the rule of how you need to think about this. And they're like, what? And I'm like, carry this plastic bucket around and imagine everything you're eating, you have to put in the bucket. If you start going over this bucket, you are overfilling. You're eating too much and there's too much volume going through your digestive system and it'll fill you up too much. You'll wake up the next day, be sick. That's what I say overfilling the bucket is, right? So what you have to learn to do to overcome the skinny battle, which I did because I went from 65 kilos to 95, and I kind of, I'm in total control of my body weight now, but I have to actively think about this bucket model. And what you have to do is make the bucket heavier. You need to think about density eating. You need to think about liquid calories, like filling the bottom of the bucket first with a liquid to be more space efficient, make it heavier, go for denser foods, forget any 0 calorie veggies, forget about 0 calorie drinks and things like that. And you have to be really tactical about it, but people don't understand it. It annoys me because if you open up Instagram now, it'll be, here's my high protein, low calorie recipe. And I'm like, it speaks to the complete opposite person that I'm trying to help. And so I'm starting a movement at the moment for the skinny guys that aren't being listened to, and I'm trying to help them.
Well, I was going to ask about how you settled on your skinny guy niche, and I mean you see me, I'm naturally slim myself, and I've had coaches in the past where they've taken a similar approach to yourself, and actually what you said then just resonated with one of the coaches I had, in that there was 5 or 6 meals or protein servings throughout the day, say, and over time each one just got slightly larger, so that you're not hungry and then full. You're just constantly keeping digestion at a place where you can digest it. The only difference is that I think I
Yeah.
got to the stage where digestion was a problem, and I decided to ignore it and then carry on eating all the way through it, and then you get to the point where you lose all motivation to train, and you feel like shit, and you've got no appetite, and you sleep shit, and you think, why am I doing this again?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. So I think a better approach to it is, and ultimately for for longer term progress as well. It's all very well stuffing your face for 3 weeks if you're gonna then, but not if you're gonna fall off the bandwagon for a month afterwards, or you're constantly mini cutting or whatever. So yeah, I like the
Yeah.
approach. And did the target market and the niche of skinny guys just come naturally? Did you notice that people were inquiring with you, or what made you settle on that?
So my personal journey, obviously, I was quite stupid because I didn't realize from the start that, in my opinion, the people that you can help the best as a coach are the people that resonate with your backstory and what you've been
Yeah.
through. Obviously, so I don't know. You see some coaches that are like guys that are going for the Olympia, but they're coaching Linda from Tesco's, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know if that totally makes sense to me, but for me, I started coaching and I was taking on anyone and anyone. I was like, any guys, I will coach any guy. I can help you lose fat. I know how that works. I can help you build muscle. I know how that works. And over time, after I posted more and more of my content and spoke about my personal struggles, it did just narrow itself down to, oh, I'm starting to attract skinnier guys that are struggling to gain weight, that have been through the same thing as me, that have spent all of their lives being skinny, hating how their arms like don't fill out any t-shirts, how their chests cave inwards, and it's that feeling of, oh, I don't want to take my top off, I look skinny. I can really communicate those pain points across simply because I was there. I've been through that. And so over time it developed. And also I realized that those are the guys that I can help. I can't relate to somebody that's been really obese or been really overweight because that's not a problem that I've ever had. Like losing weight, as you said, it's so easy for me. It is so easy. I lost 10 kilos in 7 weeks. No problem. No hunger, no sleep problems, no food focus. I can't relate to it. So over time, it just gradually evolved to me taking on more and more skinny clients. And now we're setting up a community, and I've already got like over 100 skinny guys in there just wanting this advice because nobody else is giving it. Nobody else is giving it. Technically my podcast now.
Sorry, Ollie.
No stress. This is my podcast now, mate.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's bloody. I think when Ellie's on the Wi-Fi as well. Ellie's upstairs working. So when Ellie's on the Wi-Fi, I have no Wi-Fi problems at all. And then as soon as I start to do something that's recorded, it cuts out. Anyway, we can chop all this up. Tell me about. Tell me where I got cut off. Sorry.
I think we were talking about why I niched down to working with skinny guys and how that kind of came about.
Yeah. So you noticed that there was just a general trend of skinny dudes coming to you, and you thought, hang on, this is a. When you, I will admit, when you first said to me, or when I first went on your profile on Instagram, when I started following you, you said, oh, I'm the sort of coach that helps skinny guys, and I thought, that is a really specific niche, and then as you start to think about it, well, that is a very large market, really, that I suspect is often overlooked by a lot of coaches. You see a lot of these generic Instagram bios, and I won't name names, but you see, I help busy men or whatever. But actually, to actually niche down into how you've described your target market and your niche, I thought was really clever. Bravo.
I think it's something that all coaches are worried about niching down, because they're like, oh well, if I put in my bio that I only work with this specific person, then it's going to throw away and it's going to push me away from everybody else. And is there really enough of those specific people? And so what coaches tend to do, and when I say coaches, I mean like what I tended to do when I started was, oh, I can help anyone and anything. Anyone can come to me. I can help everyone. If you're speaking to everybody, nobody will listen. And this carries like across so much towards how I have grown my profile as well. Because if you're speaking to everybody vaguely, you're not going to speak to anyone. It's like for gym pin, for example, your content is completely focused towards, I'm never going to need that. I'm never going to need a pin. I'm going to need a belt, but I'm not going to be the guy that needs a plate extender on the hammer strength, mate. I can't handle over a plate on that. But if you speak generic, like specifically to that one person, there is always more of those people than you realize. And I proved that to myself when I made one of my videos that was talking about my backstory, my skinny journey, how I find it hard to bulk and things like this. And I was like, why is nobody else talking about this? And it reached 8 million skinny guys. And I was like, oh, okay, there's a lot of these guys. This isn't a small market at all. There's a lot of these guys that just aren't being listened to at all. That
resonates with me, because when we started Gympin, we made, I don't know if I told you the backstory, but I've certainly mentioned it on social media, is I made one for personal use on a super lightweight adductor machine in just a local Total Fitness that I was training at. And then the guys in the gym who I was friendly with would say, "Can you make me one of those?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And then we thought, "Hang on, let's put it on eBay." And I thought, if I'm maxing out machines and I need one, then how many people
Yeah,
around the country and around the world are in a similar position? And it was, you
yeah,
start to see, oh, hang on, these markets that you think of as ultra niche and chunked down, when you extrapolate that across the globe, which you can with the internet and online businesses these days, that's actually a really sizable target market to go after. And I thought it was brilliant, quite frankly. And it was similar to what we did with Jimpin. Was we've got this product now with Jimpin. I was on furlough at the time, sat at home. We thought we had nothing else to do. Let's see if we can build a business out of this. Um, and it is what it is. And we've now sold to 60 countries around the world. So it's amazing what happens. You can surprise yourself when you actually decide to follow something through. Yeah. Um,
I think the more specific a problem that you solve as well, the more return, the more value, the more opportunity there is in it. So if you're like solving a really specific problem that nobody else has solved yet, there's so much more potential business opportunity in that than there is other things. If say if you were with Jimpin just I don't know, almost helping people just add one extra little weight plate, then you might be able to target, 5 or 10% of people, and you'd have really big bodybuilders going, "Hey, that would be a little bit useful because that might help." But being able to target the problem of, wow, well, I can do the whole stack for 30 reps. What can you do for me? Because that's a really specific problem. It's like, okay, I've got a plate extender and then another one that can extend on that, and we've got you sorted. That is so much more valuable. And for me, I'm helping the guys now, and I've got clients that are genetic phenoms, like genetically unbelievable, even to a more of extent than I am. So I have to eat, my maintenance is around 4,000 calories. I've got clients with a maintenance of 5,000 and above, and they have never been around anybody that has got anywhere near a faster metabolism as they have, and it's a really specific problem. It's a really specific problem. And if I can help them solve their problems, there's nobody else out there doing that. And so it makes me one of a kind. I'm no longer a coach. I'm now the bulking guy. So when you solve a really specific problem, business wise, it makes a lot more sense as
Well,
well.
yeah, no, I agree with you, and I like it a lot. You might not like him, and people listening to this may not like him, but Gary Vee, I remember Gary Vee said something that was like, a niche may look an inch wide, but it can be a mile deep, and you may,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there was Gary Vee that said something like, Gary Vee definitely said that. He said an inch wide and a mile deep, but then also there was another guy who said every niche can be a 20 million quid business, and you think, well, hang on, well,
yeah.
I was speaking to someone recently. People, that was the other thing people used to say. They said, "Well, what do you do when everyone who needs a gym pin has bought a gym pin?" And I said, "That's
It's got one.
well,
Yeah,
that's never going to be an issue because people are constantly getting stronger all around the world. People are constantly taking pride in their strength, progressive
yeah,
overload, and getting stronger and becoming more muscular. It's never going to go out of fashion. It's never going to be fashionable to be weaker. Do you know what I mean? Or lift less weight. And the
yeah,
machines, the
yeah,
machines are just designed in such a way that they're never going to get to the point of being more than heavy enough. They're always going to be too light for certain people. So you start to think, well, hang on, this niche that we thought
yeah,
was an inch wide that we came up with in 2020 is actually a mile deep and longer. You start to think it's infinite, really. And then
yeah,
similar to yourself, you've got skinny guys all over the world who uh, well, okay. Well, what about when Ollie's helped all the skinny guys? Well, there's always going to be skinny guys who need. Do you know what I mean? The argument just is infinite, and it's just really interesting that people had that objection to me, or the naysayers were saying, "Well, what about when everyone's got a gym pin?" Well, people are always going to need gym pins, and skinny guys are always going to need help gaining weight. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, interesting.
It is quite a brave leap, though. It is quite a brave leap. As in, for you, I think it sounds like you naturally fell into it simply because you were solving one of your own problems. But if you're a coach that's going from trying to help everyone to just trying to help a specific psychographic, a specific type of person, a specific demographic, it's quite scary because you feel like, oh my God, there's loads of potential business that I might be missing out on if I do this. Am I sure that's the right move? But the thing is, if you don't ever do that and you're always trying to speak to everyone, nobody will really truly resonate, and you're always the same as other coaches. There will always be another coach that's doing exactly the same thing and better, like sadly better. Unless you do this and you become the best at what you're doing, then you're stuffed. You're stuffed. And for you, it's like there may even be brands that pop up that build, knockoff gym pins that do this and they do something else, but they're not gym pin, and they haven't done what you've done. And I think you have to niche down and you have to go, well, I'm just going to solve this one specific problem. And when you're the only person doing that, you become infinitely more valuable. So it doesn't matter what they do, they're not gym pin. And that's all that matters.
That was our stance. I remember when we had, I won't mention names, but we had a distributor in the States reach out to us and say, I want to become a distributor, can I buy some gym pins from you? Yep, fine, no problem. We shipped him over a box. They sold immediately. He bought another box from us, and then he'd sent the money, and then just before we were to ship them, he said, "Oh, mate, I'm having cash flow problems this month. Can we have a refund? Can I put it on hold?" I said, "Oh yeah, no problem. We can do that." Anyway, 8 weeks later, he came out with his own version, and we were gutted at the time, thinking, "Oh, we've been ripped off. We've been copied. This is the end of gym pin." But actually, it did the opposite. It sort of elevated our brand because people knew us as the original.
Yeah.
He was much more expensive than us for various reasons. And it elevated our brand, and people could see that Mr. Olympias were using gym pin, they weren't using his brand. Eddie Hall was using gym pin, they weren't using his brand. It did the exact opposite of what we feared, and that's our stance, is that people will copy. It's flattering more than anything when people do try and copy you, because you can see that we're onto something good. So yeah.
Literally that. And I think I don't want to talk about this much because it's not something that I like talking about, I like thinking about, but I've had coaches copy my content and my phrases in my content. Like, for example, I said once, I used to get teased when I was playing rugby, and guys used to say they could snap both my legs in one tackle. And it was true. I had super skinny legs, and it resonates. I've seen other coaches use this terminology, but it doesn't fit their image, their niche, or their physique. Like, they are thick boned. And I'm like, no, please, I can see what you're trying to do, and I can see you're trying to copy the content because you've seen mine working, but it doesn't fit with your brand image. It doesn't work. You need to think about your own journey, your own problems, and use that. So this guy that's probably, made his own gym pins, it doesn't matter if they're even better than yours. Because he doesn't have the backstory, the whole creation process, the evidence, it's not the same brand identity. And you don't realize that, but it's so true. You cannot just pull something out and just copy somebody else's and make it work. It never, never works. And it's almost like I want to help these other coaches by saying, please stop saying that, because it's not going to help you. It's not that it annoys me. It's not going to help you. You have to figure out your own problems. Like, this guy that's ripped you off, he needs to go into the gym, find a problem that he's having, fix that, and then work on that of his own thing, because that's where the best things come about, when you're literally solving one of your problems, not looking at anybody else, not caring about what anybody else is doing, just solving your problems, I think.
I completely agree, and that's always why when we started Gymping, people would say things like, "Oh, you can sell you can sell barbells, or you can sell, I don't know, yoga mats."
Yeah.
No, that's I could not sleep easy at night thinking we're selling barbells just like every other brand on Google. And I can't sell a barbell. I can't write a good Instagram caption about a barbell because it's not something that I'm particularly passionate about. So we've always been sort of solution driven. And me personally, if I'm in a gym and I'm having a problem, I'm thinking, right, there's an opportunity here, and there's a solution to that problem, and can we add that to the range? So you touched upon your content, and let's just talk about social media, because you and I have had some good conversations about social media over the past few months. When I briefly touched upon when I first saw you in EP, when it was the old EP, you had something like 2,500 followers, and now it's just touched upon over 170,000, with the majority coming in.
Yeah.
Majority in 2024. So pretty astronomical growth. And what do you what would be some tips or some advice to people in this social media world of trying to grow your business and grow your social media? What would be some tips or advice that you could give or you'd be happy to talk about?
It's so tricky because it's like, I'd love to tell you that I had all of the answers and that I know exactly what caused it, how to do it, and also how to, get those followers and turn it into a community. But I'm literally in the process of doing that right now. So any advice that I give, I can help you figure out how to make this kind of content that goes further and reaches your niche. But you've got to realize I gained I've gained 80,000 followers from one video, which was my 948th post. So I had posted 947 times before that, building up my niche, figuring out who the heck I am and who I help, making content proving that I've got transformations, I've helped out hundreds of skinny guys, shown my personality, shown that I'm really blunt and straight talking. I'm not going to, and building up a load of evidence. And then it was a 949th post, 60,000 followers in a week. And then a week later, 40,000 followers from one video. A week later, and again and again and again. And now I could post a reel tomorrow that would reach 10 million people. I could make it up right now, tomorrow it would happen, but you have to have the evidence there beforehand, because if you're making a reel like this and it goes to those people and they go, wow, this is amazing, click on your profile and there's literally 3 posts there, they'll go, oh, bit suspicious, I don't know how I feel about this. So before you do anything, like, figure out who you're trying to help, your niche, and not just like, younger skinny guys in between this age and this age. I'm talking about, what do they watch on TV? What are their hobbies? What do they think in the gym? What clothes do they wear? What clothes don't they wear? What problem are you going to help them solve? How are they going to feel after this? Like, the first thing I ever did was I wrote a 7-page Google Doc outlining exactly who I help. And that's where the content ideas come from. You can't make the video unless you know exactly who you're talking to or your target customer. Like, for example, you can put yourself in the mind of your customer going, oh, he's looking at the machine, he's maxed it out, he doesn't know how to progressively overload. Does he do pauses? Is he going to have to find a different machine? Is he going to have to swap this whole machine out? Does he have to go to a different gym now? Is he going to have to, what is the solution? And if you're in their mind, the content just comes itself. So that's the first thing that I'd say. Nail down your niche, like, to the T. You cannot get too specific with that. Have to nail that down. And then, once I'd kind of got to that point, and I had already made like 700 posts by this point, and I was really talking to them. My online coaching was doing really well. I was pretty full with clients alongside uni. I was getting to the point now where I was stuck at 2,000 followers, and I had 2,000 followers for 3 years. And my reels just weren't reaching more people. There was no followers. There was no followers coming in. There was no followers going out. My account was just stagnant. It was working because it was hitting the niche, but it wasn't actually going wasn't going further. And it was only when I started thinking strategically about short-term video content, which is booming at the moment, and learn about how the algorithm works. So I would literally say 2 weeks worth of research on how the algorithm works, what actually makes videos go further, how to reach more people, and how to turn that into followers, how to turn that later down the line into customers. And there was like a flick of the switch in my head that just went, oh, it's all about view time. It's all about how long somebody stays on a video. It's all about how long somebody stays on that video. And the way that the algorithm works is, you post a video on Instagram, it shows it to 100 of your followers, and it tests. Out of that 100 people, how many people didn't just swipe straight away? Okay, let's say 70 of them. Brilliant. From that 70, how many people made it past the first 5 seconds? Okay, 40 of them. Brilliant. How many people made it to the end of the video? And it's all about trying to get as many people as you can to stay for as long as you can on that video. And there's a lot of ethics in this, because are you just making it addicting content that is sucking the life out of people? Potentially. And that's a realization that I've come into the last month or so, where it's like, oh my God, I'm just making videos that are wasting minutes and a half of people's lives. Am I actually putting value in this? Is it actually useful? And so 2 months ago, I learned how to make a video that was addictive. Like, it was addictive. It would have a hook that was non-generic, unique, hadn't been said before. It was niche specific, and it didn't answer the question. So, for example, my video that got to 8 million people, the hook was, here's me after eating 500 grams of potato. And the second line was, and this outlines the biggest problem skinny guys face when bulking? And the answer isn't given away. You're intrigued. It's unique. You've never seen that video before. It hooked everyone in. Everyone. Like that video, as soon as I posted it, within the first hour, it had 5,000 likes, 400,000 views in literally an hour because nobody was leaving that video. All of the skinny guys that watched that video, nobody scrolled. And so the main realization I had when it came to content was if you want a video to go further, whether that's a good thing or not, you need to figure out how to keep people on that video for longer. That is like the one flick of the switch that happened for me, I'd say.
And you've made a few good points there. So basically, no, Ollie, no one's got the time to listen to me and you talk. What you're trying to say is it takes nearly 1,000 posts to become an overnight success. Is that about right?
Yeah, pretty much.
But people are always saying,
How sad is that?
people are always saying like, what is the secret and all this stuff, and what I heard from someone the other day. He said, "Oh, I'm shadow banned at the minute, and my Instagram is not getting much reach." And I said, "No, you're not. That's your sign.
The content's just
Yeah, your content is just crap, mate. That is your sign that your Instagram, the algorithm is not appreciating your content, or rather, excuse me, the audience is not appreciating your content. You need to change something up to further entice people to keep watching your videos." And what was the other one I heard the other day that made me chuckle? I can't, yeah, shadow banned and whatever. Anyway, but there's a lot of misconceptions about the algorithm, about social media, and people pull their hair out trying to nail it. And oh, that was one. Yeah, someone said, "Oh, I posted my first video that's over 60 seconds, and it had, he was stuck at like 1,000 views, and this one got 8,000 views." And I said, "So just post more of that then. If that's what's getting you more, then that's the evidence right there." He said, "Whatever you've just done to keep people watching for 60 seconds plus, make more of that content because your audience seems to enjoy it. Keep doing that, mate."
Yeah.
And it's brutally simple when you talk about it, as you've just explained. But I think people get really confused and struggle with to take a step back sometimes and just think, right, okay, what's working, what's not working. Let's dissect what's working. Let's look at both what's working and what's not working. Let's double down on what is working and discard what's not working. So yeah, really, really interesting. And you've been, as you, I'm sure you're aware, you've been helpful with my content, and we've been discussing a few videos back and forth for Jimpin, and it's also interesting to keep trying new things with your content. And it's, for many years, Jimpin has posted guys training very, very hard, but we've taken a bit of a shift recently just to try a few new things. And it's nice to see, okay, that's worked well, that's worked not so well. We'll let's do more of what's worked well and see where that gets us. And you look at the feedback in the comments, and people seem to like it, and you obviously get a few trolls out there who say nasty things, but it all helps the engagement. So I think you make some really good points there, so thank you. So one thing I wanted to, you mentioned about creating content for and you sometimes feel that you're creating content that isn't necessarily bringing value to people who've watched that video. Do you sometimes struggle with, and this is something I wanted to talk about, do you sometimes struggle with creating content that is classy versus, say, cringy? And do you sometimes struggle, maybe it's just me, but do you sometimes struggle with, like you've just said, delivering content in a way to get the point across and add value to the watcher versus just keeping them hooked in? And what do you do? Do you do anything to try to add value to every post or via every post, or do you just sometimes just go for gold and go for views, or what?
So I go through phases, and I think the best way of doing it is going through phases. So you go through phases of, right, I really want to grow my account right now. I'm going to post it with the aim of getting a load of new followers and bring them onto my account. Once you've gone through a phase of that, which I've just been through, gained a load of followers, I'm now going through a phase of actually getting, I call it like breadth and depth content. So when you're doing breadth content, you want it to reach as far as you can, go as far as you can, but it's not really it doesn't matter that it's you in the video. So my viral videos, it doesn't actually matter that it's Olly Draisey that's in the videos. It could have been anyone and it would have still gone that far. My depth content is more about who I am, what I'm about, and those are the posts that will resonate further with people. And the guys that are really interested in signing up with coaching, joining my community, will watch those videos. But the views on those videos will be way lower. So it's almost like I go through purposeful periods of making these videos that have a hook. They have a specific topic there. They're really trying to maximize view time. They have a call to action, which is a follow, and they're really trying to go as far as they possibly can. You do a phase of that, and then you pull out. Because if you were to stay in that phase, this is what would have happened. I would have gained 100,000 followers from that video. They would have gone, oh my God, I can't wait to see more of this guy's content. Next week, it's the same video. It's the same cringy video, which is like, oh yeah, and follow me for more. Oh, here's this great stuff. Follow me for more. They're like, I'm already here. Give me something else. And if they were just seeing that same video every single week, they'd lose interest. They would go, oh, okay, yeah, he's a one-trick pony. And that's what most creators, and that's the trap that I almost fell into, by the way. That's the trap that most people fall into, because when these views start skyrocketing, you want to just carry on making these videos that go further and further and further, but you actually need to start maturing those new followers and showing them your personality, showing social proof of what you're doing and that it works, and actually making videos that doesn't follow this technique. So for example, my most recent reels, if you look on my account, don't have a hook. They don't have a scene change every 3 seconds. They don't have this addictive formula. I don't want them to go as far. I only want the people that are really interested in me, Olly Draisey, to watch them. So I think going through periods of like growing and then connecting is the smartest way to go about this. And the last tip that I would give, and this is something that I think about every time I go on Instagram, by the way, is if you're struggling with content and you're struggling about, oh yeah, the algorithm doesn't like me, just ask yourself, would you watch your own content? Do you like your own content? When you watch it back, do you go, oh, I love that. I would watch that again. That's great. I'd follow that. I enjoy that. I've enjoyed making that and I've enjoyed watching that. Because if I go back to 2 years ago and I look at the content I was making, I would be bored out of my mind, and it was so cringy that I would have scrolled past it to avoid cringing myself out watching that video. So every time you make a video, ask yourself, would I watch this if it came up on my feed? And if the answer is no, don't post it, make a better one. And if you keep doing that, you'll get to the point where your videos and your content is so good that other people will like it as well. That's one of the main realizations that I think I had.
You make a good point in that, businesses outside of online coaching go through stages of growth and consolidation and maturity. Like you just said,
Yeah.
they'll sign up a new contract, they'll service the contract, and they may not sign another contract for however long or whatever the business goes through in a period of consolidation. So I think people in the online space just constantly going for growth, whereas actually if you can pull the strings to grow your business when you have capacity to, versus, I mean, we're going through it right now. If you're just constantly growing, you have a lot of growing pains, and Jimpin has the growing pains. But if you can pull the strings to grow the business versus just consolidate and mature what you currently have, further engage with your audience, I think that's really sound business. Just good business to be able to do that. And tell me about the next big change for you and your better half. You're moving to, is it Skegness or?
Yeah. Skegness, right up in the grey rainy part. Yeah. We're really going for the scenery is what we're going for. Yeah. No, it's 7 days now until we're moving to Dubai. So that is a big move, but one that we're both just so ready for. Just so ready for.
And where are you going to train? Obviously, that's the most important thing. Things like living can sort themselves out, but what gym are you going to go to?
So this is literally it. Me and Evie, we sat down a couple of months ago and she went, right, here's what's really important to me about the apartment where we live and things like that. And I was like, okay. So she listed out balcony, view, space, kitchen space, bedroom size, office. And I was like, yeah, okay, got you, understand all those things. And she's like, oh, how about you? And I was like, just got to be near a good gym. Like, just put me near a really good gym and I'll be happy. And she's like, walking distance, driving distance. I was like, I'll figure it out. Just make sure I'm near one. I don't care if I live in a box fine, absolutely fine. With a bed, fine. I haven't actually decided which gym. I don't think I'll train at Benus. I'll probably go there for a day pass just to experience it. But I think it's so far out that trying to find somewhere to live in between Benus and where everything is happening would be a bit of a nightmare. So we're thinking probably the Dungeon. Have you heard of the
Oh yeah,
Dungeon?
yeah. Abdullah's my boy. Abdullah owns the Dungeon, and they've got some gym pin kit. And Abdullah
Right.
sent me a Dungeon, jumper to train in. So I've got an orange.
Oh,
Yeah, I've got an
right.
orange Dungeon jumper. So me and Abdullah chat every now and again, and that's a proper facility. That's a proper facility run by proper bodybuilders. So if when I get myself to
Yeah.
Dubai, I'm gonna go down there to train. That looks an immense facility. Um,
Yeah, and especially because I was obviously training at EP for 2 years with top equipment, and I'd never experienced kit like that before. I was training in gym groups, pure gyms, trash. Went to EP, my mind got blown wide open. Best 2 years of my life training wise ever. So much more enjoyment as well. And for the last 3 weeks, we've moved out of Manchester, and I've been training in my attic with a set of dumbbells, a scraggy old hack squat that I bought during the lockdowns, and a multi gym that I got for free off Facebook Marketplace. So I am really looking forward to using a proper facility and being back in a gym that has top notch kit. So I think I am going to push EV to see if we can if we can live somewhere near the Dungeon where it's feasible to travel there 4 times a week. I'll be more than happy with that.
um, yeah, okay. And just finally before we end, I want to ask you about the growth blueprint. What's that?
So I have pretty much collected every little tidbit of bulking knowledge, every bit of experience that I've got around how to gain weight as a skinny guy, and I've put it into a step by step course. And I've also built up a spreadsheet which helps you literally run the perfect bulk. So you feed it your data and it says, right, add a little bit of calories this week. Okay, slow down a little bit this week. Add a couple of reps to this exercise this week. It just takes care of all of it yourself. So I used AI to help me do that as well. But I've built a self-learning bulking spreadsheet and a step-by-step guide on how to help skinny guys bulk. And I've opened it as a community. I think it's been open for a month now, and we've got 130 guys from all over the world. I was on a call the other day in the Blueprint, and I had guys from Brazil, I had guys from America. It's amazing. So yeah, it's my community helping skinny guys learn how to bulk without having to sign up for one-to-one coaching and actually have like, somebody on your back all the time. If you're ready to go about it on your own, that's what the Blueprint is.
Sick. That's so cool. Um, all right, mate. Well, yeah, that's so cool. Right, well, we'll wrap up there then. But really nice to catch up as always, Ollie. All the best in Dubai, and I'm sure we'll speak soon.
Let me know if you ever come out, and we'll go to the dungeon. We'll go to the dungeon. Lovely chatting, Ben.
See you later.
In a bit.